Hello and welcome to another chapter of a tome pulled right off the shelves at the heart of the Jakuls. As always, I'm your reliable host, Lothran, and there's ever so much more data to relay. So let's get to it, shall we? Go grab a filling meal, settle into a cozy spot, and pay accurate attention to Fleet Part 53. Pray. Vilivin stumbled about, slamming into the solid sentinel figure of an ancient tree, his breaths heaving, his mind racing. He kept imagining or actually hearing the beast behind him. He forced himself onward through the night, aware that he could stumble off of a cliff, falling to an untimely and agonizing demise, aware of so many things he hadn't been just a few hours before. That was it. It had found his scent again. Vilivin began running headlong through the shrouding darkness, careening off a dozen sturdy shadow shapes that erupted at him in the empty night. He kept himself from falling ever forward, faster than his legs should be able to propel him, and further than his fire-engulfed lungs could have ever sustained him before right now. It was so much closer than the last time. He had to think of something. It had come for him when he had been asleep, attacking and shredding the wooden walls of his shelter in a matter of moments, barely even slowed by the flimsy protection. Vilivin fell to his hands and knees, continued at his runner's pace without even bothering to stand back up. Arakash had been there when he'd called, the axe ripped out of his hands by the beast's hungry maw. He'd punched it in with the force of a javelin fighter craft firing its lasers. He'd really only heard it for a few minutes, sending the massive quadruped reeling and dazed while Vilivin ran off into the night. Vilivin fell to his knees, spent from hours of fleeing for his life. He'd rested here and there, but it had never been enough. He noticed his arm leaking blood. That may have been how he was so easy to track. Maybe not, who knows. He rolled onto his back, noting the pair of humid, gusting, venting nostrils ejecting the exertions of the hunt. Vilivin reached for Arakash, holding off as the languid beast sauntered back and forth, where its glowing eyes hovered in the pitch-black void. He'd only stunned it before. Arakash either wouldn't do for this fight, meaning Vilivin would soon be torn asunder while still alive, or he had to call Arakash not for strength, but for something else. The predator continued to pace ever so slightly forward, watching him, but doing so with an air of respect. Vilivin smiled. Death or not, a beast as long as a drillbeak showing you respect. That was an accomplishment. It reared back, wiggling its shoulders, ready to pounce at any moment. Vilivin ripped at the chasm in his mind, delving both mind hands as deep as they would go, refusing to embrace Arakash and instead tearing away as much blazing radiance as his mental self could hold in both palms. He fed the white-hot, psyche-searing sludge into his right hand, and there he waited, clamping his fist around the furious resonant gleam, faster and faster, more angry and powerful with each millisecond that he held the force at bay. Vilivin waited while his arm felt as if it were melting off at his shoulder. So impossibly blast furnace, spectacularly torrid was the compressed magnitude imprisoned behind his fingers. The beast lunged onto him just as his pain reached insurmountable mountain ranges of ascension. Time hung once more, halted by the distilled and spring-fresh suffering, mixed with utter terror, coursing through every last atom of Vilivin's body. He thrust his hand at the beast, releasing the whirling, hate-fueled orb of purest madness right at its open, roaring face. Vilivin lay there in shock. The barren cone of glowing embers and smoking ash laid bare beyond his fingertips for 5 meters hence. He tried to move, but found that he had trouble even breathing at all. The body of the predator, or what little remained of its smoldering corpse, skidded to a halt beyond his head. He felt like he was dying, maybe worse than if the beast had landed upon him and began ripping his vital organs out for the whole world to witness. Everything was pain. Vilivin crunched in upon himself, huddling up into a ball, gritting and grinding his teeth, and then just screaming against the eons of agony that never seemed to have any sort of an end. Eventually, he woke up. A day, maybe more later. Birds were chirping. The sun was shining. He could barely crawl, just managing to lift his head off the hard ground beneath him. Vilivin witnessed the devastation he'd wrought upon the forest in front of him. Trees, stones, hillocks, all of it gone where the blast had struck. He was no longer just a man. Now, with great and terrible enough a need, Vilivin was a monstrosity from the darkest of the heart stories, long since forgotten by the ravages of time. First, though, before he could celebrate, he had to crawl to some sort of shelter. It would rain again here. It always did. He had to sleep for 1,000 more eternities. He had to cease to even be under the burden of what he'd called forth into existence. And so it is. Our time together has once more come to a close. I hope each and every one of you enjoyed the tale as much as I have the telling of it. As always, I've been your adept host, Lothran, and this was Fleet Part 53, Prey. Another tale right from the heart of the Jakuls. And now, sadly, ever so sadly, we must once again part ways. Korvoth, guide them back along the proper path, back to the safety they know all too well.
Yes, sir, Lothran. Oh, wow. Vilivin is really dangerous. To a point, he is, sort of. You know, he's kind of useless right now, though. Back to my job. A pleasant greeting and a fond farewell to each and all. Please leave all your comments, questions, and kindnesses down below. Don't you let me catch a single one of you leaving any of that mean, rude, or awful stuff, though. You keep all that baloney to yourselves. Got it? Don't you let me see you doing any of that stuff down there. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to help us learn, spread, and grow. And don't forget that we strongly encourage each and every one of you to stay safe out there. See you again tomorrow for Fleet Part 54. Oh, where can Vilivin go from here? I don't even know. Good night and good luck. You'll need it. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.